Change your mind, change your money, change your life. I am Coach Rob Lee Simmons, the host of this podcast, and let me be your tour guide to greatness. If I was doing any better, I would be you. Welcome to the Greatness Academy podcast. I have a phenomenal guest for y'all today. I have Mr. Rick Barboa. He is a content creator, and he's going to break down a little bit about who he is today, and we're going to talk to him about that. Welcome to the show, sir. How you doing?
Glad to be here. I'm doing well.
Man, I'm excited too. I was watching a video, and you was lifting 803,000 pounds, it seemed like. Hey, tell me a little bit about your love for physical health. How does that play a part in your life?
Oh man, that's a good question. My love for like physical fitness just really stems from like a battle I had within
Yeah.
and just fighting it, really fighting the struggles that come with losing friends in combat. And it was a way for me to deal with it in a healthy way instead of getting into alcohol or engaging in other types of behaviors. I went into the gym and I just fought myself in the gym.
Yeah.
Type thing. Yeah, that's what it was.
That's good, man. That's good. Hey, tell me about your unique experience growing up. How did you grow up? Brothers, sisters? Where you from?
So I'm from Merced, California. It's a little small town. You got to zoom in on the map to see in California, in the San Joaquin Valley. I grew up with 5 brothers. Both my parents still together. My dad was a pastor, still is. And my younger days was really surrounded by church. Grew up in the Pentecostal church. That was really what it was. My brother was playing sports. I tried my hand at some sports and things like that. And then, yeah, it was like church, sports, and just really family-centric type things that we all did together. That's what my early years was like.
Yeah, and then I really see a lot of your faith put forward in everything that you do. What grounds you in faith?
What grounded me in it?
Yeah.
I think it was the example of my father. That's what really grounded me in it. And then building from that, having, well, I guess as an older man, or a growing man, having my own experiences where I got to not just believe God through the witness of my father, but actually seeing it in my own life. I think that's how my faith was grounded, both in his example and the examples and experiences that I had growing up and living life.
Yeah. So what is one unique experience that you would say would be a testimony to your faith?
Oh man, I was in Afghanistan, and I was on a sat phone on the roof in Farad province in the FOB that's there. This was back in 2009. And I'm on the phone with my dad and talking about something going on back at home that's really stressing me out. And he chuckles. And I'm like, why are you laughing? Because I was like, this is a serious conversation. Like, why are you laughing at me? I need you to like tell me something else. And he said, you know what, son? Now you're going to get to know who God really is, because you have no other option but to trust him right now. But you have no other option. And so that was like one of those moments where I realized, I was like, this is what trusting God looks like. When you can't do anything but do that, that was one of the biggest moments in my life. And there's more, but that was that first one where I was like, it's like a light bulb moment.
Yeah, and that's just like life changing, because now you got to take that conversation and walk forward with knowing, hey, I got to make my own footprints. I think that's a very unique perspective when that light bulb goes off and you're like, damn, this is my journey now. This is my journey now. So tell me, looking at your resume and looking at your content, what is something that people don't know about you?
I don't know. I try to put myself all the way forward. I like fitness. I talk about my family. maybe they don't know that a few of my children are special needs.
Mm,
Uh, That's something that me and my wife are negotiating. And that's something it's like a dynamic issue. You got to constantly be figuring it out as you go. And then once you figure it out, which is, I think it's just something that is a pattern for all families and for any type of kids when you're growing and you're raising children. Because you get to a certain age and then they hit this milestone in life and then you got to figure it out. It just makes it a little bit more complicated when they are special needs. That's all.
yeah, I had a guest on, Kevin Wayne Johnson, and he told a unique story. Same principle is it was a giant, uh, it was a giant learning experience for him, something that he continues to grow in. And he said the one thing that he learned from that experience is that just when you think you've made it, you realize that there's another step. And so in having challenges, there's always going to be a never ending battle. But in perspective, what it looks like is life is everyday learning. Life is just everyday learning.
It is.
I I think that's dope though. I think that's dope. It is very unique experience. What is the one thing that you're most passionate about in parenting?
Oh man, that's creating a future, creating a legacy so that my grandchildren's children know about me
Mm,
and living in such a way that the people that come from me are proud of me. So I want to live in a way that makes them proud. I think that's going to make me live a little better if I live that way and setting that legacy up. So that's going to include something financial, something of a story, um, and all of that. So I'm trying to think of it in a sort of all-encompassing way, and that was like my answer was to leave a legacy for my kids. That's something that's really important to me.
no, that's super unique. Hey, tell me about your journey. If you could describe your life's journey in 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
Oh man, it would be failure. Uh, I'm trying to think of it in 3 words. So failure, and then trying, and then winning. But it's not like it just keeps going. So it's like a
Yeah,
circle.
yeah, yeah.
Failing, you're trying, you're winning, and then you're failing again, and you're trying, and you're winning. That's what I would describe my life as.
No, that's dope. That's dope. I love it. So let me ask you this, and then just maybe a more personal level, right? So we would call the holy trinity of health being mental, spiritual, and physical. Now we see your spiritual health, we see your physical health, but tell me where you are in your journey in your mental health.
Oh, that's a good question. But that's one that I've had a lot of bumps in the roads in. And so back in 2006, there was a significant life-shattering event that happened with me. Um, and not to say that there wasn't things like that before, but that was one of the most um, earth-shattering events in my life when two of my friends got killed right in front of me. And I did what a lot of combat vets do. We ignored it and just acted like it didn't happen and just kept going. And the Army it gives you a pretty good ability to do that because you could just go to another school or you can make another rank. You can hide behind all that. But about 7 years after that event, because I wasn't dealing with it, it started dealing with me. And I ended up in counseling, and it was the best thing I could have ever done. Um, and so that's something that I have sustained since that time. And I can't even remember how long I've been in counseling now, but as I've been doing it so long. And I would say that your mental health, even if you don't have a earth shattering event like that's so traumatic, you need to do it because it helps you think about how you think.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
no, that is spot on. I see a therapist as well. I think with my platform, what I always want to do is be able to openly, especially as men, I have women on here as well, but as men, to talk about mental health and talk about it openly, so it's not such a stigma around getting help. And I make videos talking about sessions that I have with my therapist, and Sometimes they're angry. Sometimes it is part of therapy, but it's also part of my mental health, right? Because I want to be holistically healthy in anything that I'm doing because my journey requires me to do that because people are looking at me. And whether it's as a mentor or a peer, I want to project A, the truth, and B, that mental health is very important. But let's go into the journey of the young Rick, right? So every kid has a dream. And where you are now compared to your childhood dream, what's different and what have you accomplished that you're like, yeah, I'm living my dream?
Oh man, I think my dream was it was really after seeing Top Gun. Remember that movie Top Gun? Actually, I think when it came out, like 1986 or something like that. So it was a
Yeah.
few years old by the time I saw it. But I wanted to be a fighter pilot. That's something I wanted to be. And then after 9/11 came on, I wanted to be a PJ in the Air Force. That didn't happen because I went to the Air Force at the time and they were like, hey, we're only training PJs at this time of the year. And I was like, I don't want to stay here in Merced. So I went to the Army and did that. And then I did my Army career. I've tried some things and failed some things, accomplished some things. And I think looking back on what I wanted to do and then what I ended up doing and then what I ended up accomplishing, I feel very successful because I was a very troubled soldier when I was private. Like I was the kind of guy, you were my squad leader, you were like, what did he do now? Yeah, which means, and my platoon sergeant was at my promotion when I made master sergeant. And he told everybody how I was. When I was private,
Yeah.
but it was a testament of like turning around and commanding your career with having a good attitude, owning your own stuff, taking responsibility, and then not quitting and just keep going. And not only that, it wasn't necessarily on me, but it was really on the leaders that saw the potential in me and didn't give up as well.
Yeah, that is, I think, one of the most important things in life, not just career based, but mentors and mentees. Like, how important is it for someone to believe in you? Who are some of those people that have affected your life? Give them some shout outs. This is a good time to give them some shout outs.
Oh, I'll start with my father and then my childhood pastor, God rest his soul, Pastor Robinson. Um, then my first sergeant, Willie J. Thompson. He is, man, that guy jumped into Panama, was a paratrooper. He just looked like he looked like what a soldier was supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And he was my first sergeant there, and I've always remembered him. Um, my team leader, Sergeant Deborah, one of my platoon sergeants, Sergeant Clay, both of those two individuals passed away in 2006 in Iraq. Then I want to say there's a first sergeant, Sergeant Major McGowan. He was really one that helped me see that I needed help with my mental health. There was my commander at the time in Iraq. His name was, he's Colonel, retired now, Chanda Mofu. And then lastly, it would be my latest ops star major, Gonzalez. These are just some people that just immediately come off the top of my head when I start talking about people who've influenced me and helped me see my full potential, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you, in challenges from day to day, what helps you continue to push forward even when it's hard?
Oh, it's like an internal sense of, are you really going to quit? It's like a question. And I've always answered that question. Nah, I'm not going to quit.
Yeah.
And then I guess externally, it's just my family. Because I have that other goal and desire to want to leave a legacy. And one person in particular in my family is my oldest son. We literally have mental conversations. He has no idea. Where if I'm down and out or I'm feeling like life is getting, like everybody, life can get to you.
Yeah.
I like project this conversation that I'm having with my son and we're men, and he's like, why did you quit, Dad? And I don't ever want to be like, I did quit because of this. I want my answer to be, I didn't,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I truly believe that. I'm in the midst of writing a leadership book. And one of the first lines that I write in the book is, and it's a quote, excuses are tools of incompetence. Right. And so that is just, it's so powerful to to know that when you start to run into an excuse, you're like, there's nothing that I can't do. So there's no answer to not being able to do something and quitting unless you're quitting for something that's a bad thing, right? That's a good challenge that you want. It's a good time to quit. In a world full of distractions and noise, how do you stay focused?
That is with my church and just people that I have real close relationships with. And so like distractions for me had always been with the normal things with men. And for me, I've had to be able to combat it by being honest, having honest conversations with people who I trust. And it's really having them enter into my life in a helpful way and me being open to that's been something that's always been helpful for me in regard to like distractions and challenges. Because I don't have a challenge of drinking alcohol or something like that. I have different challenges where I'm like, brother, I need you to talk to me right now because I'm having this thought that I shouldn't be having about this certain individual or something like that. And so bringing them into that conversation, bringing them into that thought process and helping them help me interrupt that has been very helpful for you.
If someone were to write a book about you, what would the title of that book be?
Mm. I don't know. That's a good question. What would the title of the book be? Oh man, it would be, oh man, what is man, I don't know, that's a good question.
We'll come back to it. I'll let you
Yeah.
through it and we'll come back to it. As kids, you've been a kid before, and there are times where younger folks, and we can say younger soldiers or people that just need guidance, what is some advice that you would give to them as they're struggling and they want to be able to transition into the right path?
I think the first thing I would tell them is, look, you need to be honest with yourself uh, about yourself.
Mm.
Don't ever lie to yourself. And then find somebody that you can trust and bring them into that conversation. Because think about us men is there's usually older men or men that are maybe our peers that are going through the same exact thing. And I think one of the things that we lie to ourselves is that I'm the only one going through this. I got to do it. I got to figure it out. And nothing works like that in life. You need people. You got to stand on the shoulders of others. And you might be that person in somebody else's life because of the experience that you're going through right now. And so I would just tell a young person that, look, this is not always on you, but it's your responsibility to ensure that you do integrate others and seek help. That's the thing that's on you. You need to do that.
Yeah, personal accountability. Yes. I think that is one of those things you just find. I know for me, that's really what it was. Is I just run into problem, run into problem, run into problem. And then at some point I was like, Robert, only you are responsible for this. And then when I start to take, and I want to call it blame, when I started to take charge of the things that I was doing, I literally felt unstoppable after that point. That's awesome. What about someone who doesn't know how to lock in on a spiritual journey? What would be the first steps that you would give them to point them in the right direction?
As far as Christianity is concerned, that is just for them, because I don't know how to engage the other spiritual disciplines, but in Christianity, I would say that, look, you need to hear the gospel. Really, that is the key. I have plenty of friends who are apologists. I have friends who are PhDs in biblical studies and exegesis, and we have all these different conversations. But at the end of the day, all of those guys who are specializing in that field, we all know that the thing that is a light bulb moment in people's lives is them hearing the gospel and this the value of it, the need for it, and all of that. So it's not a work that I do; it's a work that God does in somebody else's life, and I'm just merely where the person saying it is just merely the instrument that that leads to that happening in their life.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask you this. I know you have faced conversations where you're talking to people and they don't understand the allegory behind a lot of the stories. In biblical terms, what are some of the stories that you lean on to that are like your go-tos?
Oh, like when I want to, because I specialize in Old Testament studies. The New Testament's where you see Jesus and all that stuff like that, and where the gospel message is. But I spend a lot of time in the Old Testament, like I said, and when I really want to show somebody the picture of the gospel in the Old Testament, I go to 2 Samuel chapter 9. And this is the story of David and Mephibosheth. David has just taken the throne. Saul was the former king, and his son Jonathan, they had both died in 2 Samuel chapter 1. And so Mephibosheth is actually Saul's grandson. And so he should be the one who should be taking the throne. But
Yeah.
I go there and just real quick, it demonstrates how David is restoring the son and is loving the son in Mephibosheth because of his love and friendship that he had with Jonathan, Mephibosheth's father. And so he accepts Mephibosheth because of Jonathan. And I tell people, I'm like, look, this is how you are accepted.
Mm.
Because God the Father loves God the Son, and all who are in him, he brings them in. And so it's a beautiful portrait of the gospel in Israel's history that demonstrates how you're accepted. There was nothing Mephibosheth did, but he was loved by David because of Jonathan.
That's whew, that's fire. That's fire. I love it. Hey man, so tell me about some of your future plans. What does the next 1 to 5 years look like for you in terms of family, personal life, and professional life?
So start with family. We want to get our two oldest children graduated from high school. So I have my oldest daughter's about to turn 16 this year. And so we want in the next 5 years, I want to see her in a 4-year college somewhere here, local. I don't want her going nowhere else. The same thing with my son. He's turning 15 this year. Then we have the other 4 that are behind them, but they're still just going to be in school for the next 5 years, keeping that sustained. And then my wife, she can hear me in the background right now. She needs to go complete her PhD in behavioral analytics because she's smart enough to do it, way smarter than me. And then for me, I'm probably going to do like an odd job, but my main focus is just going to be in studying at a master's level and then continuing, starting and maybe at that tail end of the 5 years, starting a PhD program. That's what I want to do.
Man, y'all are the smartest family in the world. What we're gonna do, we're gonna sit back and get everybody to school. We're gonna do some more schooling ourselves. We're gonna have a whole wall of degrees. I love it, man. I love it. I think that's a blessing just because I think some of our people haven't been put in place to the travel the journeys that we've traveled. And I think it's super cool that you just have these unique opportunities and you're able to pass a lot of stuff down to the family. That's dope to me. That's dope to me. So before we get out of here, man, do you have any parting words for the guests? You can take as long as you want.
I would say this. I am just grateful for this time and the consideration that you've given for me to come on here, spend a morning with you to discuss these things. I'm grateful for that. Thank you. For the listeners, I hope that I have said something that could be inspiring. I hope that I have said something that will demonstrate to you that your life is a portrait of failures and winning and everything in between. It really is. And you're doing it right when you keep going. And not only that, when you keep going, but when you very introspective, and you're thinking about how you're thinking, and you're taking good feedback in from people who are in your inner circle, so to speak. And all of that being said, that may not lead to just comfort all the time, but it can help you get through those times that are going to come, those times that are going to come where it's going to be challenging, so on and so forth. And in the way that I guess the central point in my life that helps me accomplish this would be my belief in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And yeah, that's something I can hope that when you see my content, you're going to see that, because you might see me is just as fast. I'm going to make some comedy with some friends of mine that are in the military, or I might do some very serious, nerdy, exegetical work. I do it all. Yeah, I like to do it all. So I hope that any one of those things, or in the middle of me working out, I hope any of those things can be inspiring and helpful, and not help you look at me, but help you look at yourself and how you can get better.
No, that's super dope. So what are some handles? How can people find you?
So on TikTok, I'm at Boa Strong 82. I have another TikTok where I do exclusively just work. That's at Rick_real on TikTok. And then on Instagram, it's Rick Rick_real. And then on Facebook, it's Rick Barboa.
Awesome. And I'll have that down below in the description of this episode as well. So Rick, man, I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. We definitely got to do this again, and definitely stay in touch, and then hit me up if you need anything. But on this show, we say change your mind, change your money, change your life. And thank you for doing that with us this morning.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Appreciate it. We are over and out.
Thank you for joining the podcast. And remember, change your mind, change your money, change your life. We out.